This is CBC Here and Now.
Lot of numbers. What did those numbers mean?
Not enough detail, some key issues not addressed. I'll have some reaction towards recovery and its final evaluation report coming up.
And an update on the new hospital in Corner Brook tonight.
I mean, we should have had this years ago. 2007, this is 23. It's a long while to try to get a new hospital.
The building is certainly coming along, and I'll let you know when it's opening.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Parents on the Prince of Wales Collegiate School Council are demanding the province stop work on a new school in Portugal Cove St. Phillips. They want to see evidence about why a new school is needed there when other schools are in greater need of repair or replacement. The CBC's Heather Gillis reports.
Sonia Rideout and Gordon Stokes are on the Prince of Wales Collegiate School Council. They say building a new high school in Portugal Cove St. Phillips isn't a good idea. They worry it'll cut the population of both schools in half, from about 600 down to 3. Rideout says it'll mean fewer teachers and programs for kids.
They won't be able to offer the same breadth of programs, academic programs, extracurricular programs to 300 kids that they can offer to 600 kids. And the feeder system is working. It's not broken.
Last week, Premier Andrew Furey announced the new school's location. The $33 million building is to be built on Old Broad Cove Road and Maggie's Place. But Rideout, who lives in Portugal Cove St. Phillips, says it's a narrow, busy road without sidewalks.
And I honestly fear for the kids that actually live in that walkable area because it's not walkable. Kids from Windsor Heights will have to cross Portugal Cove Road at that nasty intersection.
Meanwhile, she doesn't buy the argument that building the new school will reduce busing for kids in the community. And she says the school council, which represents parents, students, and staff, weren't consulted about the new school. Stokes, who chairs the group, says PWC is closer to better amenities. And with other schools in greater need of repair or replacement, he wants to know why Portugal Cove is top of the list.
And it seems like this school managed to, leap past some of the other ones. Like I said, parent in St. John's, currently got a kid in Larkaw. Larkaw's been on that list for replacement since 2006.
And they're not the only group raising concerns. The former school district CEO warned the new school wasn't a priority and said it would affect PWC. And the NDP leader has echoed concerns.
The school council is calling on the provincial government to pause further work on the new school in Portugal Cove St. Phillips. They're also calling on government to disclose evidence used to prioritize that new school over others.
If we want to have trust in the decisions that our government makes, people in this province need to feel like they're based in evidence and stakeholder consultation, and both of it is severely lacking.
In a statement, the Education Department says they've observed enrollment pressures. By 2025-26, they project there will be 365 students in the high school age group. They say the student population is growing for the first time in decades, and it's important to have the infrastructure in place to meet the demand. They also say they're planning for the future of PWC, and talks with the school council are part of that work. Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, Ottawa announced plans today to fund a $716,000 project in the province. It's called Partnering for Dementia-Friendly Communities, with a focus on reducing the stigma around dementia and encouraging dementia-inclusive communities across the province. Now, earlier this week, we told you about how Twillingate is taking steps to become a more dementia-friendly town, with education for its council, residents, and businesses on what dementia looks like, how to best support people and their caregivers and accommodate those with dementia into community spaces and events. As it stands, there are over 10,000 people in this province with diagnosed dementia.
It touches every family in the province, and everyone's experience with dementia is unique. A diagnosis of dementia should not define an individual. Rather, dementia becomes part of their story.
Well, Corner Brook's long-awaited new hospital is closer to opening. Construction on the 7-story structure is almost complete, but there are still some questions about what services will be offered inside. Here Now's Colleen Connors has more.
Floor by floor, brick by brick, Corner Brook has watched this large structure go up. You can see it from vantage points all over the city. Crews are working on the parking lot and the exterior today, and construction is almost complete.
Really excited for people to get people up in the building, to move staff in. We're at a really exciting stage and really looking forward to that first patient day.
Rousel and his team get the keys the end of November. Then comes the big move. Each hospital department will use a mix of old and new equipment while they train and transition to this place.
So in essence, we have to take a building and turn it into a hospital that's ready to accept patients and provide high patient care on day one.
Day one will be late spring or early summer 2024.
I mean, we should have had this years ago. 2007, this is 23. It's a long while to try to get a new hospital.
Parsons has been pushing for better care for West Coast residents since the Williams government promised a new hospital in 2007. Now, this $723 million building is almost ready to open, but Parsons worries about past promises of a radiation unit and PET scanner. The Hospital Action Committee hasn't heard from the province since 2021, when Fury said there was $2 million in a trust for when the technology is needed.
I don't know what to think, Colleen. I'm lost for words, because you make a decision on something and things change after. It kind of pisses you off a bit, but that's it. What do we do?
The Department of Health says the trust still stands, and the radiation unit here will offer treatment for some but not all tumors. Meanwhile, Rousel and his team continue working on the new build, which promises more natural light, more access for cancer care, better signage, and outdoor spaces. This new hospital will have 165 beds, along with 145 long-term care beds that are just next door. Each bed in its own private room. And as for the parking lot, well, it's a whole lot bigger at this new location with 1,100 spaces. Colleen Connors, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Mental health advocates are calling for government to be more upfront about what's working and what's not when it comes to mental health services. Yesterday, we brought you political reaction to the report looking at how well the province has followed up on its 5-year plan. Here now's Henrika Wilhelm has more on what people on the front lines say is needed.
The reaction to the evaluation report itself, it lacks crucial detail.
There's a paragraph that is with percentages followed by numbers, and you find yourself having to dig into it and translate it. And reports like this need to be clear. They need to provide the data. They talked about the data at the top of the evaluation, and we saw very little of it. We saw a lot of numbers. What did those numbers mean?
Christy Allen has been pushing the government for better mental health services with weekly protests. But she's not the only one who wanted to see more detail. Tanya Lenz is a private psychologist.
I found a lot of the information provided was very vague, and we didn't have specifics that we needed to really evaluate whether or not the recommendations actually were met.
Both acknowledge over 5 years of Towards Recovery, good progress has been made in improving the provincial mental health system.
I do want to be clear that I think there were successes, and I think they're talking about them so much they are kind of glazing over the challenges, which are outlined in the Towards Recovery evaluation.
Yet they also emphasize there are many areas that still need lots of work.
A lot of the programs depend on people being able to read, and we have a lower literacy rate here, as well as being able to navigate technology, which can be a challenge. So there's a lot of things there where I think we're not thinking about the population that we have, and we're expecting people who may be having a crisis to do a lot of self-management, which isn't necessarily respecting where they're at.
For Lenz, it's also problematic that psychology hasn't been mentioned in the report at all.
The lack of mentioning even recruitment of psychologists in the report is a huge concern, because it really means that they're not dedicated to doing that. And so it's a devaluing, I think, of the services that psychologists provide.
For Allen, the push should be for long-term support, something that's still lacking.
There's very little about long-term access, which I obviously care deeply about, and I think that there was very little information about that type of thing because it's harder to address. It's harder to show numbers for, but if you care about mental health care, if you care about access, it should be there. Quite frankly, that's the job of my government.
Both Lenz and Allen agree long-term mental health care has to be a real focus moving forward. And while Allen would like to see another action plan to address those gaps, Lenz wants to see more data released that was used for the final evaluation report. Henrike Wilhelm, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, it has certainly been a wet couple of days for the southwestern portion of the province. Take a look at these rainfall totals. As of 4:30 this afternoon, 115 millimeters of rain has fallen for Port aux Basques. St. Andrews 52.7, Wreck House area 51 millimeters. Significantly less as you head towards Burgeo, about 13.3 millimeters. But we are going to see some more showers move through, which will be heavy at times as we get into Friday. It looks like at this point. So still lots of moisture available. We're looking at that moving in through the day on Friday. We could pick up another 20 to as much as 30 or even 40 millimeters of rain for those of you along the south coast. I'll break all of the forecast details down for you coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, occupational health and safety investigators have been deployed to the Come By Chance Refinery after an incident they're describing as a near miss. In a statement to CBC News, Brea Renewable Fuels says a worker drilled a test hole on Tuesday in a line that has been used for several months to carry nitrogen. Now, nitrogen is often used in the oil and gas industry to prevent fire and explosion hazards. Normally, that line would carry hydrocarbons. Brea says the line was tested after drilling and there was a small amount of hydrocarbon gas initially detected inside the pipe, but testing outside the pipe showed no leakage of hydrocarbons. The company says it's now doing an internal analysis. Provincial Occupational Health and Safety has not issued a stop work order and has no further details. Well, the province is encouraging people with wells to get a free chemical test. The project was launched in December, but there are still 2,000 water chemistry test kits available. This test kit detects whether things like arsenic or uranium is in the water. The province is hoping to gather baseline water quality data for the province and also help prevent people from consuming water that has high levels of harmful chemicals. An online marketplace launched in Portugal Cove St. Phillips today. The Killick Coast Food Hub encourages people to focus on buying local, and they can pick up their products all in one place. Celebrations kicked off today with producers showing off some of the treats offered in the online store. Executive Director Tara Lehman calls it a drive-through farmers market. Customers can place orders for locally grown vegetables and homemade goods and pick them up on a weekly basis. The hub says it aims to help with food security and sustainability.
I think what's really important for all of us is this provides an opportunity for food producers here in this province to connect directly with consumers. That's a first, and to be able to do that and have the quality of product and good pricing delivered to the people of the province here through a food hub system like we have is a major step forward.
Well, new research from Memorial University suggests improving a person's sleep can improve their cancer treatments. Between 30 to 60% of people who've been diagnosed with cancer will also experience some form of insomnia. And a local doctor suggests this adds further psychological stress to an already stressful experience. The new study shows cognitive behavioral therapy can help.
You know, a skilled surgeon and an IV of chemo can only take you so far. And so I hope that Dr. Garland's obvious success with this will lead to, will prompt people in the medical community to say, it might sound naive, but I hope someday when there's a couple like me and my wife sitting in an oncologist's office, getting the kind of news that we got, can leave there, go down the corridor at the Bliss Murphy Cancer Center, walk into another office, and there's a psychologist there ready to talk to them because the mind is sick as well.
Well, Come From Away is off to a rocky start in Gander. Last night's show was canceled, and so is tonight and Friday's show. It's because of illness in the cast and crew. The musical is about Gander's response when flights were diverted on 9/11. There are 37 shows scheduled, all of which are sold out. The show's producer says they're trying to add performances this weekend to make up for the ones that were canceled.
A bit of a switch in the pattern from the last couple of days. We're looking at some showers moving through again tonight, especially along the south coast of the island tomorrow, but some heat's moving in. We'll talk about that when I come back.
Well, check this out. This visitor in St. John's Harbor, it's an 86-meter or 282-foot-long sailing boat.
It's the largest of this type in the world. It's estimated this sailing ship is worth more than $100 million.
And those masts are taller than Atlantic Place. It's incredible. And you know, Ashley, this vessel is available for charter. You just have to have more than $600,000 for 1 week. for just you and 11 of your closest friends. Look at those masts. Can you imagine when those sales are up? That's incredible.
$600,000. I can't even conceive, like,
I know,
that's
you can't even wrap your head around for 1 week.
Yeah, that better be a good week.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I guess great weather for that vessel to be in St. John's Harbour. It's a really perfect day out there.
Yeah, it's a good thing it was this week, or later in the week, I should say, and not last week.
Yeah, for sure.
And we wouldn't be able to see it.
So how long is this going to be sticking around?
For a while.
Oh, good.
Warm temperatures will stick around for a while, which is nice. But let's take a look at where we sat today. 22 degrees in St. John's, 26 in Gander, same thing for Twillingate. And the coolest temperatures could be found along the south coast of the province, really all along, which is typical for this time of year, but we're talking about temperatures around 15 to 18 degrees. Up across Labrador, still another mild day in Happy Valley Goose Bay at 27 degrees this afternoon, and Cartwright hovered around 28 through the day. Taking a current look outside right now, pretty nice out there. Lots of sunshine, temperatures around 21 still. Those winds out of the south-southwest around 30 to 40 kilometers per hour gusting, and a bit of a humidex, feeling more like 24. So right now, here's a look at the dew points. We've got some drier air up across Labrador. You start to get to the southeast, more humid air, dew points around 19 degrees in Mary's Harbour. Same thing for Corner Brook. And if you take a look at the numbers there, so that's when you're starting to get uncomfortable. Certainly, and as you head further east, though, it's only 14 degrees in St. John's, but it is feeling a little sticky for sure. So dew point, or rather, humidex values closer to 30 in Deer Lake, 31 in Mary's Harbour, and it feels more like 33 in Cartwright. So if we take a look at the muggy meter over the next couple of days, the humidex values will certainly start to increase by the end of the weekend and into the beginning of next week. So it will feel very humid for eastern areas of the island. That will be the story through central and western portions as well, getting actually, in fact, very humid as we head into the beginning of next week. Temperatures will be quite mild as well. We're talking between 29, even 30 degrees is certainly possible. Taking a look at the current radar right now, we do have some heavy showers offshore. That will work its way further north as we head through to the night tonight. All along the south coast, you are looking at that potential for some heavy rain moving through. But again, it won't be until we head into the early morning hours tomorrow. Otherwise, a quiet night tonight for the most part, pretty much across the board. Few showers will be possible for Lab City as we head into the morning as well. But temperatures mild pretty much across the board into the double digits, between as 10 to as much as 16 degrees, even 17 degrees as your overnight lows. Now, as we head into tomorrow, those showers, the heavy showers at times will work their way further north by the time we get into the afternoon hours for central areas of the island. In the interior, you'll likely see some periods of heavy rain. It moves through fairly quickly, though. By the time we're through supper hour, that should move offshore, staying cloudy for the most part. This doesn't mean we won't see some peaks of sun, but generally cloudy through the day. Another line of showers will work its way from west to east across the big land as well. Light showers, this shouldn't accumulate too much, but you're still looking at that chance. Temperatures tomorrow will be somewhere into the low 20s, humidex values into the mid to upper 20s. The winds will be a bit breezy, more breezy than they have been, well, other than today, but southerlies between 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. Again, that chance of showers in onshore flow along the south coast of the island. Anywhere from 23 to 26 degrees for central and coastal areas, north coast, I should say. Along the south coast, temperatures around 15 degrees. And then as you head towards the west coast of the island, we are looking at those temperatures somewhere between 20 and 24. Now, it will be a bit more unsettled through the day. You will see a couple of periods of rain moving through. And then for the northern peninsula, some sunshine to start. Those showers will move in late day. You're talking about temperatures around 21 degrees for St. Anthony, 27 or 28 for southeastern portions of Labrador, even along the Strait as well. And again, feeling quite humid. Another hot day for Happy Valley Goose Bay as well at 28. The coolest temperatures will be found in Nain, where you're looking at about 12 degrees. And again, shower potential towards the evening hours. Now, Lab City, you'll hover around 25 degrees. Windiest day or windiest across the island, I should say, across the province, between 30 and about 50 kilometers per hour. Temperatures climbing even more so as we head towards the end of the week. I'll get into the details coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, Environment Canada has confirmed at least one tornado touched down in the Ottawa area this afternoon. One person suffered minor injuries and dozens of homes were left damaged.
The wind came, just the noise was, I can't describe it. The noise was incredible, absolutely incredible. And the rain was coming in, glass everywhere, bits of roof coming down inside, insulation, and then this just like the war zone. So the only way you can kind of describe it, it was horrifying.
My goodness. Here's a look at the video of that twister that touched down in Barrhaven, located about 20 kilometers from downtown Ottawa. A severe thunderstorm hit the area just before the twister arrived, bringing heavy rain and hail. And Ashley will have more on this story in about 20 minutes on Here and Now.
Anyone that's coming up for renewal, it's quite the payment challenge to go from low 2s, even low 3s to 5.5%, or even higher interest rate.
Another hit for borrowers, the 10th interest rate hike in just over a year. What does it mean for homeowners and people hoping to buy? We'll hear from a mortgage broker coming up. Well, interest rates are up again. Yesterday, the Bank of Canada raised its benchmark by 25 basis points, sending rates to 5%, the highest in over 2 decades. This is the 10th hike since March of last year. Now, the goal, of course, is to curb inflation, encourage people to stop spending. But what does it mean for home ownership or those aspiring to buy a home? Leslie Penny of East Coast Mortgage Brokers joins me now to talk more about that. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Well, mortgages just got more expensive. How much more does this cost someone when they buy a home?
Rates have increased another 25%, so that puts prime rate today at 7.2. So that's on average, it's about $14 a month extra now for every $100,000 in mortgage. So on average, $325,000 home here. It's pushing an extra $50 a month on additional to a payment, right?
Housing prices are especially sensitive to these rate hikes. How is this affecting whether people buy and what they buy?
I think people are just really starting to readjust their expectations, especially once they get the numbers in front of them of what that's going to look like, on a monthly or bi-weekly basis. Inventory is an issue here and across the country. So low inventory and a strong demand is still keeping house prices propped up, of course. So we haven't seen that same decrease that some other markets might have seen. However, people are certainly readjusting what they're looking for based on their budget.
What kind of a reaction have you been getting from your clients? Like, just how painful has it been for those with a variable rate? Because this hasn't been just 1 or 2 or even 3 hits. This has been 10 hits in just over a year.
Every week I'm having these conversations with clients of mine that just want some reassurance or peace of mind or whatever it may be, just wonder where things are going to next. And of course, no one knows, but just a lot of people, I guess, just want to feel that they're not alone in this. Like I said, I talk to my clients, every week. I'm talking to my client database and whatnot. That's the concern. I've got a renewal coming up, or I'm in a variable and my payments have changed quite a bit. How do I handle it moving forward? That's a big concern. And, I guess kind of off the cuff, you see all the concern about, payments and all this stuff with regards to people's mortgages. We're not seeing quite the same impact here. The average price here is $320 versus the average price is $900,000. Any rate hikes are magnified at that price point, right? So fortunately for us here, with the lower mortgages and the lower purchase prices, we've been relatively healthy. I talked to a lot of my colleagues across the country, and their business is down drastically, just for that reason. We've been lucky enough to weather the storm a bit so far, just based on the affordability still being manageable.
Well, in terms of affordability, I wonder if these interest rate hikes then might make Newfoundland and Labrador a more attractive place for people to come to purchase a home.
Absolutely. We've seen a lot of that over the past couple of years, obviously since COVID, where a lot of people have the flexibility to work remotely. They're able to sell their home in Toronto for $1 or $1.5 million. Still keep their employment, but move to Newfoundland, or we've seen it in Halifax and those markets where people can just buy a home in cash or relatively small mortgage and probably have a bigger home and keep their job and have a quality of life.
Could be an interesting spin-off effect of all of this. Leslie Penny, thank you so much.
Thank you as well.
A health center in Halifax has granted Indigenous peoples the right to traditional smudging ceremonies. One woman pushed for that right, not only for her own child, but for Indigenous mothers as well. The CBC's Selena Alders brings us that story.
The smudging is the actual motion of brushing the smoke when they're burning over your being. And so you go again from head to toe, and it's like to clear your mind to think good things, and your ears to hear good things, your eyes to see the good things, your mouth and your voice so you speak good things. Really, it's just empowering to be one of the first people to bring that here to the IWK.
Courtney Pennell has fought for families to have the option to smudge their newborns for years. This is her twin sister Brittany and her newborn Beau, who's less than a month old. Both her and her son were smudged during and after the birth. She's the first Mi'kmaq woman to have it done at the IWK.
Knowing that the policies and procedures were published just days before Beau came into the world was like he had been kissed by Creator and chosen to be the first Mi'kmaq baby to be smudged at birth. So we feel pretty empowered.
Does it feel good?
Sometimes.
What does it feel like?
It feels like medicine in your chest.
Before the new policy came into place, people were not allowed to smudge inside the hospital. There were concerns about the ceremony setting off smoke alarms. But now they're turned off for a short period of time for Indigenous mothers who want to smudge.
Particularly important because our societies are matrilineal, and so we really embrace our women and our two-spirit people that have that feminine component. We hold them in the highest regard because they are the givers of life. And so in our culture, it makes me super emotional, but women and children are it.
Brittany says she was so grateful to be able to smudge during the birth of her son, but the fact that it was her twin sister who made it all happen is all the more special.
It makes it I'll cry. So much more impactful. And I'm so proud of her. We're so proud of her for all the hard work and all the fight and the dedication that she puts in the work, and she's our medicine in our family as well. So to watch her so dedicated in her role and fight for the ways of our people to be brought back and reclaim our roots. It's for tens of thousands of other Mi'kmaq people, not just us.
Selena Alders, CBC News, Halifax.
Well, have you ever used a bait bucket? We'll introduce you to this historic part of the cod fishery.
Well, I'm back now with more on today's severe weather event in Ottawa. Environment Canada has confirmed at least one tornado touchdown in the south this afternoon. One person suffered minor injuries and dozens of homes were damaged. CBC's David Thurton has the latest from the scene.
This here is one of the street signs that became one of the projectiles when a tornado touched down here in Barrhaven early this afternoon. Environment Canada is confirming that a tornado did touch down. We don't know exactly where, but you can see damage, certainly from what appears to be a tornado. In the homes behind me, you can see that the shingles have been blown off the roof. They are lying in the street. Windows have been blown in. Siding is blowing in the wind. A number of homeowners who were home at the time tell me that their roofs are open right now and they're open to the elements. Water has been leaking in, flooding their bedrooms. A lot of them are shaken. A lot of them are just processing what just happened to them. Thankfully, mercifully, no one was injured seriously by this tornado. We are hearing at least one report of minor injuries from the Ottawa paramedics. Now the cleanup has begun. A number of work crews have been out throughout the afternoon repairing roofs, leaky roofs. We've seen hydro crews trying to reconnect customers. Last I checked, there were more than 1,500 customers that were without power after this tornado. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
Speaking of weather events, on PEI, hundreds are still waiting for money to help pay for damage caused by post-tropical storm Fiona. PEI contracted out its disaster assistance program to the Red Cross, and while the damage there wasn't as severe as what many experienced here in this province, they are facing problems with wait times. Here's CBC's Laura Meter.
The trees were down all along here.
Cheryl DL doesn't enjoy being in her yard since Tropical Storm Fiona hit last fall. She lost 25 trees. Many were removed, but there's still lots of damage around.
It's dangerous for people to be walking around because there's so many holes and ruts that are everywhere. So I feel like I'm living through Fiona over and over and over.
She's waiting for money from PEI's Disaster Financial Assistance Program, which is being run by the Red Cross. She first applied in January and supplied more information and photos a few months ago.
It's still saying that I'm under review, and I contacted them, and they said, oh no, it just takes time, and it's a complex, and each one is individual.
In total, 3,000 people, small businesses, and nonprofits applied. Some were ineligible. 614 have been approved, but 850 applications are still under review.
Knowing that we're into the middle of July and only 600 approved, another 850 to go, that looks like we're going to be well into late fall, winter before any of these decisions get made. That's a year from Fiona happening.
PEI's official opposition says it's been a frustrating, cumbersome process for many islanders.
And they're all can't get any clear answers to when their applications will be processed, and they're trying to make decisions, and it's just the information is not there for them to do that.
Robert Henderson says government should have managed the program without contracting it out to the Red Cross. The Red Cross says if all supporting documents are included, applications can be processed in a few weeks.
It does take a little bit of time, but things are going relatively smoothly in terms of once everything's been approved, getting the payment out to them.
The province says other programs have already provided millions of dollars, and PEI is grateful for the Red Cross's assistance, and applications are being dealt with as quickly as possible. Cheryl DL hopes her approval comes soon. The province says it's dealing with more complex cases now. The deadline to submit all required paperwork is September 30th. Laura Meter, CBC News, Rustico.
The Assembly of First Nations is wrapping up its annual meeting today, hearing from federal and former federal justice ministers today. Ottawa released a plan this year on how to align with the UN Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People.
What I have is a commitment to work with you step by step to reverse piece by piece. I often say stripping away the layers of colonialism, identifying them and stripping them away.
Too often, political leaders are focused on being seen to be doing the work of reconciliation rather than actually doing it.
Well, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau kicked Jody Wilson-Raybould out of the Liberal caucus in 2019, saying trust had been broken. She was a former regional chief in British Columbia. Well, this next story is a bit of a fluff piece. It's about a wildlife rescue and a reunion, thanks to a whole lot of help from first responders and power line workers. The CBC's Frances Willick has that story from Halifax.
This misadventure of two ospreys, only 2 weeks old, was likely sparked by their own parents. It all started back on June 26th. Fire crews from Musquodoboit Harbour got a call about a power pole on fire, a place where ospreys often nest.
So they built their nest, and at some point, with the nest complete and babies in the nest, they laid a stick across that made connection between two wires that arced and caused the nest to catch on fire.
Stubbart says the parents were frantic, flying around the nest as it burned. The baby birds were eventually removed and kept in blankets in a quiet spot in the fire station. They were a bit singed and smoky, but otherwise fine. Hope for Wildlife later swooped in to take them under their wing. Meanwhile, Nova Scotia Power put up a new pole and the Department of Natural Resources made a new nest. The convalesced fluff balls were returned about 2 weeks later, but their new home was incomplete. Would the parents come back?
We all had guesses as to what was going to happen, but we were all kind of nervous about it too. It was up and down. We were excited, nervous, anxious.
For a whole day, Lambert waited and watched. He finally saw the parents later that evening, but they were ignoring the new nest and trying to rebuild the old one. But by dusk, the mom returned and brought her chicks their first meal in their newly renovated home.
In no way did I expect that there would be a collaborative effort to get them back with their parents in the same area in a better than ever nest. Yeah, it was nice to see.
Frances Willick, CBC News, Halifax.
Oh, talk about a group effort. What a great story. So happy that it had a great ending. And you know, we just can't get over this mega sailboat. It is the largest of its kind in the world with 2 masted sails. And today she was in St. John's Harbor, just looming over even our tallest buildings. Absolutely incredible. I wanted to give you another look at this beautiful vessel. Well, many people out catching cod this summer may use a rod and a reel or a hand line, but back in the day, fishers in Newfoundland and Labrador had another trick up their sleeve, the bait bucket. Now, if you've never seen a bait bucket, it's because almost none have survived. So why is this one still in ship shape? We have the answer in part 2 of our summer series, Inside the Vault.
So this is a bait bucket, and what's interesting about it is that we don't get them in this good shape. This one here was preserved because it was created here in Newfoundland, and it was purchased by the people that owned the Newfoundland store in Toronto, and it was used as a window display. Hi, my name is Maureen Peters, and I'm the Curator of History at the Rooms, and today I'm going to take you inside the vault. Come on in. So if you're going to go out to get your fish this year in the food fishery, you might want to try using a bait bucket. How these worked was that you have all these hooks around the edges, and each one would be baited and thrown over the side. So it was really important to keep it fully organized, because if it got either bit tangled up, then the whole thing would just be one big wad and go into the water that way. Which is why we also don't get them organized this way, because they were very much used and used a lot. They were made of a barrel with the staves held together with metal strapping, and they would fall apart. And where they were something that was really functional and really important to the fishermen, they would be used and used till they fell apart. So this one here, it was in the window display in the Toronto Newfoundland store for a good 30 years. So it was probably from the 40s or 50s, and then the Newfoundland store, I believe, opened up in the 60s. It came back to us after Newfoundland store shut down in perfect condition and still with all the bait hooks still around the rim. So when we got offered this, we were very excited about actually being able to see what a bait bucket looked like in its format that wasn't in photographic form or in memory form. It was actually a bait bucket that was then used and put back together and given and purchased for the Newfoundland store. And Newfoundland stores, there are kind of everywhere. Newfoundland is a big transient society. Like, we come and go, and we leave, and we ebb and we flow. So we have these little enclaves of our own history and culture popping up all over.
The bait bucket. Who knew?
A little lesson in history.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so time to look at the long-range forecast now, looking ahead to the weekend, because tomorrow is Friday.
That's right.
Yeah.
We are looking ahead to the weekend. It looks a bit unsettled for some areas, but some of us are going to see the sun, but the warm temperatures are definitely going to move right back in. Let's take a look at what's going on as far as the weather goes for Saturday. So those showers will eventually head a little bit further east as we head into the morning hours. They'll be more scattered by the time they head east on Saturday morning, but we're still looking at the chance of some showers up across Labrador as well. Generally cloudy skies for the most part. We should see some clearing as we head into the evening for central portions of the island. Same thing for the northern peninsula, but those showers will continue to work their way further east as we head through the day on Saturday for Labrador. Temperature-wise, the heat and humidity will move back in. We're talking about temperatures between 24 to 26 or even 27 degrees across the island. Again, along the south coast, still looking at cooler temperatures, but they'll be between 18 and 19 degrees. Labrador, you're looking at your temperatures between 23 and even 30 degrees in Cartwright. Again, the humidex value is expected to be in the mid to upper 30s with that for Cartwright. Through the evening hours on Saturday and then eventually into Sunday, again, another round of showers will move in, particularly for Labrador and the west coast of the island as we get towards the evening hours. However, we'll likely see some more sun through central and eastern portions of Newfoundland through the day. The wind's still very much out of the south, which will keep that heat and humidity in place as well. So at this point, between 25 and 27 degrees, really we won't see too much in the way of change in the temperatures over the next couple of days as we sit in this warm, mild, warm, humid air mass, I should say. Labrador between 25 and 29 degrees. So Nain, 12 degrees tomorrow, but 25 by the end of the weekend. So that will be nice as far as temperatures are concerned. But again, unsettled. Still that chance of showers pretty much for central portions of Labrador and towards the northern peninsula as well. Long range forecast looks fairly dry. Now in the evening hours, through the overnight periods rather, we're still going to see that chance of some drizzle and some fog as well as we head through the afternoon, or through the evening hours rather, but that will clear out and we'll see lots of sunshine as the afternoon hours roll through. So between 24 and 26 degrees, expect humidix values somewhere between the low to mid 30s. And then by Tuesday, we're looking at that chance of showers returning. And then for central Newfoundland, showers the story. For Saturday, Sunday looks dry at this point, but Monday, we'll likely see some more showers return. And again, the heat and humidity will stick around. For western Newfoundland, by the time we get to Monday and Tuesday, that chance of showers will move back in. Look, your overnight low is 21 degrees. And then for eastern Labrador, showers in the morning on Sunday. That will really continue through Tuesday, some of the heaviest showers moving in. 29 degrees is your daytime high, your overnight low 22. And then for western Labrador, unfortunately it looks, well, actually this is not a bad thing to see the shower potential, that's for sure. But your afternoon highs will sit somewhere between 24 and 25 degrees and your overnight lows in the teens. Now, speaking of lots of nice weather, this one's calm day in Portugal Cove, St. Phillips. Kim shared this lovely shot with us. I thought it was a great one. I love it when there's hardly any wind.
Yeah, the reflection is incredible.
Although the bugs probably aren't too great, but
oh my goodness, the mosquitoes have been really bad lately.
They
I've
have.
found this year. Even when I'm just out walking on the streets with the dogs, I've been getting fly bites. I don't know.
Everything.
Am I alone with that, or is
not
anyone
at all.
else finding the mosquitoes bad?
It's all over my ankles.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
not alone at all.
Forget about going for a hike in the woods. My goodness, it's terrible.
Gotta wear bug spray. That's all.
Yeah, for sure. Just like a full net or something. Put on my beekeeper suit when I go for a walk in the woods.
Exactly.
All right, well, that's it for us on this Thursday evening. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good night.